Hello, everyone. It's Jerry at the Fledge, and welcome to another episode of Every Damn Day. Today, I'm giving a shout out to thisent.com. Look for the articles about the Fledge, or not the Fledge, one and all. I'm messing this all up today. Every Damn Day, and some of the highlights that he's putting out there. So thisent.com, and also we're starting today to put all of the Every Damn Days onto 517living.com's calendar. So if you want to see who's going to be on the show, you can go to 517living.com and check out their calendar, and you'll see who's going to be on the show. So now get ready for a good one here, because we are going to talk about a subject that you all know is near and dear to my heart. I'm going to call it Father's Day weekend. So that's the anniversary of my daughter's death from an overdose of fentanyl. And the next guest has a special place in my heart because she is doing work that's in recovery and in recovery. How you doing, Michelle?
I'm doing terrific. How are you doing, Jerry?
I'm doing great. You know, I can't remember how we started talking about the show, but you were like on it right from the start. You went home and registered, and now you are here. You made that happen real quick, and I really appreciate that because this is important to me.
Thank you. Thank you.
So what you been up to today?
I have been getting ready to do a presentation for you on hope and restoration and recovery. I have been sharing the message on my groups and my support groups that I attend every morning, and just giving back what's been freely so given to me as a gift.
Yeah, well, I appreciate you so much. You got here on time. You've been promoting. You're like the perfect guest.
Thank you.
Let's talk about you a little bit for a minute here. Tell us about where you were born and raised.
I was born in Hillsdale, Michigan, and I was raised a little bit in Spring Arbor, down in Georgia. And I went to school at Western High School and then finished my GED later. Yeah.
So when you said Spring Arbor, there's a Spring Arbor, Michigan too, right?
Mm-hmm, that's where it's at, outside of Jackson.
Oh, didn't you? Oh, then you went to Georgia.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, I see. And then when you said, what'd you say, West High School?
Western.
Western. Is that Jackson Western or?
It's Parma. Yeah.
Parma Western.
Mm-hmm.
All right. So I remember you guys were always the ones that got school days.
Yes, we did.
Or snow days. Snow
days.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We always thought you were so lucky.
Yeah, I was involved in gymnastics and track, and I loved sports. And then I got married early. I quit school actually and got married, and started having children. My first 5, a year and a half months apart. Yeah.
Your first, all of them for like 7.5 years or whatever?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I thought my brother and I are a year and a half apart, and I thought that was tough enough on my mother.
Yeah.
So you've got 5 kids, and
I've got 6 kids.
Oh, you have 6 kids.
Yes. But I had my first 5 real young, and then I had a son that was born 11 years later in my addiction.
Oh, okay.
Mm-hmm.
What would you like to talk about between those 5 kids and the 11-year-old son, and what happened with, do you want me to use addiction or substance use?
Addiction is fine. Yes.
With your addiction, How do you want to lead up to that? How would you like to walk us into that? You take
Um,
over for a
oh,
bit.
okay, I like that. Um, my life started out as real grounded in spirituality and a faith, that I could accomplish anything. And I started out, I got pregnant before I was married, so it was like I didn't need school anymore. I thought I'm going to be a mother. So I had started having children and being married, and um, I had a crisis in my marriage. My husband had molested four of my kids. And I won custody, and while trying to, keep a roof over their head and be a single mom, I started breaking the law and writing bad checks. That's what's the start of my addiction. I had consequences for that and had to do some time in prison. Well, while I was in prison, there was active use and addiction. And after 2.5 years of foster care, your kids go to permanent adoption. So when I got out, there was no home and no kids, and I couldn't see my kids till they were 18 and older. So that took me further in my addiction to being on the streets for 17 years, not wanting to live without my children, not wanting to deal with that pain of their loss. And I operated in guilt and shame and was not there for my family, for my siblings, and nor my kids. I lived to get high, and I got high to live every day to numb that pain. Um, I wasn't introduced to recovery till shortly after that, in and out of the program of Narcotics Anonymous and Alcoholics Anonymous and Celebrate Recovery. And but I did, however, meet my kids for the first time 11 years ago, first time in 23 years. And they were all grown up from 9 and under to older with grandchildren. And but in between those times, I had went out there and I got married 8 different times. That was my significance. Where I found my significance was in a relationship. And I thought, well, I'm not that bad. At least I can still get a man in my life. And I pick them where they had a worse addiction than I would have, so I wouldn't have to look at my own addiction. And it took me very low in my life, to the point of degradation, homelessness. And I came through an overdose 4 years ago. I was left alone after 2 days after I overdosed without calling an ambulance. And I had rhabdomyolysis set in my legs, and I couldn't, took them 14 hours to revive me. I was on life support. And when I come to, I couldn't feel from my legs down. And I spent months in the nursing home trying to learn to walk again, and then assisted living after that. And I remember saying, if I could actually get out of this wheelchair and get clean and sober, I'd live a life that represents you. And I was talking to my faith, my higher power. And since then, I've been trying to be engaged in recovery, whether it's inpatient treatment, support groups, but could never get a substantial amount of clean time. Um, and I just got finished with the Glass House for 90 days. And it's not like any other rehab I've ever been to in my life. Before I went to detox, I was laying on my bed and I thought, I'm becoming a bitter, lonely old lady. And a happiness, I've got to find happiness, so that the next 50 years will be better than the last 50 years, and I thought, well, I'm going into detox. I'm going to do something about this. But I thought, what's going to make it different this time? I've been to 23 rehabs and nothing's ever worked. What's going to make this time different? And, they talk about totally surrendering everything. I can't do anything. If I knew how to do it, I wouldn't be sitting here the 23rd time in rehab again. Show me what to do. And since then, I have followed every suggestion that was suggested to me. They gave me a sense of self-esteem. So I'm not a victim today of child abuse, domestic violence, or prison incarceration abuse, or the streets abuse. I am not a victim today. I'm a victor. I have overcome and I've found forgiveness in my heart. I walk and talk recovery, and my message is to give experience, strength, and hope and restoration in people's lives, because I thought I could never change. I thought it would never happen to me. I thought I was a 25-time convicted felon, spent half of my 59 years in locked up. I thought it'll never happen for me, and it's happening. I've got this gift on my life today in my lap, and it's up to me to do with it, whether I do something with it or not. I can be a survivor with a success story, or I continue and get my old life back in one decision. You know, I put it out there one day at a time, and I try to minister to others with my story, that you can overcome anything in your life if you really want to. And, I got sick and tired of being sick and tired of banging my head against the brick wall, disappointing my family, getting locked up and saying, "Oh, I miss my kids, I miss my family." And I'd get out and I'd be like, go right to the bar. I'll go right and do some more crack, I had to ask myself, you know, something's got to stop. I keep going in this circle, round and round and round. Incarcerated, get out, incarcerated, getting out. And then I get my apartment and get a job and get back in my children's lives. And then I'd say, well, I just going to have just one drink or just one hit. Nobody will know. This time it'll be different. And I believe that big fat lie in my head. And then off to the races I go. I have an obsession to use on a daily basis, but I also have a compulsion that when I start, I cannot stop. So I just decided to put the shovel down, quit digging these bottoms that should have been my bottoms all my life. I've lost everything that I cared about, that was of any value to me: my freedom, my children, my home, my marriages, and my self-respect and my reputation. But I can get that all back today and be restored back to sanity. Not doing the same thing, expecting a different result. I can get it back. I have faith in myself today. I am an overcomer. I deserve this recovery. And so do you.
So I have a billion questions. Are you ready?
I am.
I think I'm going to ask some questions that people ask me, right? And I have these answers, and I want to hear your answers, and I want you to share your answers too. So the first thing that comes to mind is, you were tired of rock bottom. You were sick and tired of being sick and tired. And I hear you saying that, but was it just number 28 and I'm done? I'm not going to do it anymore. Was it as simple as that, or was it something more? It
was not simple, Jerry. It was the hardest decision I had ever made, because I had failed so many times, and I had no self-esteem. I had no faith. And I spent the first 30 days in Glass House in the psych ward, wanting to end my life, wanting to throw in the towel, wanted to escape and run. I've spent several times in the office at Glass House saying, I got a plan to leave. I got my wallet in my hand. I just want to go get an apartment and, everything will be fine. And I didn't want to do the treatment. I want those old addictive behavior patterns to run when things got difficult. I began to work. I didn't know which layer to work on first. My life had compounded so many layers of incarceration and consequences and wreckage and traumas. I was like, where do I start? And they taught me how to stay in the moment, in this moment, right now, to stay in today. What can you do today to achieve sobriety? I started with little baby steps. I do affirmations in the mirror. I tell myself, you are a survivor with a success story. You do deserve recovery. I am emotionally balanced today. And it empowered me. When I started looking in the mirror and actually believing what I was saying, it was like I just wanted to share that with somebody else, and encourage them to do it. And then it was a lot of hard work, a lot of journaling, a lot of group therapy, a lot of one-on-ones with my counselor, being honest, rigorously honest, as only the drowning can be, that are grabbing that life support, that life preserver for all their dear life, because I needed help to admit and accept that I had a problem and I needed help and reach out and accept the help that was given to me. Not just taking it for granted, but really met some people in my life today that generally care about me, that want to care about my recovery and that I make it through. It was unconditional love and support and encouragement. Yes.
So here's another question, and thank you for that. I mean, you are inspiring, and I'm getting pumped up about this. And I do want you to succeed with your outreach and going out there and preaching this, because I think it will help a lot of people. Let me ask you a question that is, a lot of people can't understand this. You're locked up for a while, let's say a couple of years. So you've detoxed, you haven't used in a couple years, you get out, and what it seems like you should be over it, right? Why do you go and use?
Because I have a disease that lies between my ears. It's a thinking problem, a stinking thinking problem. And we have no mental defense unless we have grounded in a conscious contact with a higher power bigger than ourselves that'll restore us and help us through that mental obsession. No matter what the grave consequences are, it doesn't stop you. Unless you have a total mindset, a transition mindset, a recovering mindset where every negative thought, you counteract it with a positive thought. And first thought, wrong. Second thought, jail. Third thought, prison. Come up with these thoughts, until you played that tape through, where you think, okay, is this goal today going to bring me closer to my goal? I mean, this decision, or further away from my goal? My goal is to have longevity, sobriety, and have peace of mind. So every decision I make, I never had tools that were going to help me accomplish that goal. I had the tools from rehab, but I would never apply the tools. You've got to really want this. It's not a people that need it. It's for people who want it. And I was never willing to go to treatment, much less stay in transition, much less get a sponsor and work steps and have faith and pray. But I'm willing to do somersaults backwards with no clothes on if that's what they suggest me to do, because that's going to keep me sober today, from my sponsor who has 22 years clean today. And
Oh, nice.
I'm taking her suggestions and her support. I've got a family who is remarkably supportive to me, that have never given up faith on me. But it is a mental disease that affects you spiritually, mentally, and emotionally. And unless you have something grounded, bigger than yourself, that helps you restore yourself back to sanity, you can't do it by yourself. It's a we program. We need others to help us, and we're not alone.
Yeah, I like it. Let's talk a little bit about the outreach that you want to do. What are you trying to get going? What are you starting here?
Well, I was beyond human aid. I needed something bigger than me to help me. But he's given me some ideas lately. My higher power is God. And he has taken me from this place and put me up on this place, so that I can give back to somebody else and then evolve it back to him and give him the glory for it. And everything evolves. So my ministry is to someday, and even beginning now, to send out the message of hope and restoration to people who are without hope, that think they don't have what it takes, that it'll never happen for them, that they're operating in guilt and shame and they don't feel like they're good enough, to just be that mentor in their life, or be that motivational person they can even call or email me, to just send the message of hope and restoration to people who are like in addiction or even out of addiction.
So you might come and talk to let's say, I'm sorry, I'm drawing a blank, where people live and they're in recovery, like Rise or someone like that. You might come and talk to a group like this.
Yes.
What about people that maybe aren't in recovery, but let's say like a church, like if they wanted you to be a guest speaker on a Sunday morning
Hmm.
with
Well,
them?
I can take the knowledge that I've gathered through 23 different rehabs and up and down. I can gather the information and research that I've got from the NA book and the Bible, and I could always talk it talk, but I couldn't walk the walk. So I know it inside and out. So I can bring home the message no matter what kind of walk I come in front of, whether they be incarcerated, weaken their faith, child abuse, domestic violence, or just a domestic housewife. I can reach almost any person that crossed my path because I've experienced it all and I've learned how to apply those tools in my life today.
That's incredible. So, you said that, again, the 28 rehabs, and I got to revisit that for a second. Can you share with us what are some things that the rehab groups, and not specifics, but what are some things they do right, and what are some things they do wrong?
Um, some of the things that they do wrong is they push abstinence and getting clean off the drugs and alcohol within real fast, like first 30 days. But they don't address any of the causes and conditions that led you up prior to your relapses or using. You
Hmm.
know, those things that make us tick, like your shame, your guilt, you know, your rage, your anger, your emotions, and get down to the nitty gritty, you know, because I lived with guilt and shame for years. Um, the things that I did were a shame, but I was ashamed. I took that internally, and they addressed if they can address more of the inside out and come at you with that, or have like a long term. I suggest long term, because you can't really do it in that in 30-day program, but to just reinforce more longer term transitions where you're able to work on those causes and conditions that happened prior to using, you know, because that was the driving force behind me using. You know, it filled a void in my life. It filled a hole. It made me feel like I was somebody, that I was worth it, and that everything was going to be okay as long as I was high, you know. And you take
Yeah.
that drug away, and it's like a drunken horse thief. You sober them up, you still have a horse thief. You know, there's other things you need to work on, your character building. And if nothing changes, nothing changes. You go right
Yeah.
back out there.
So, what were some of the things they did right then? The opposite?
Unconditional love, acceptance. I tell you what, my insurance told Glass House this is the last time they're covering me, because I was making a lifestyle, you know, going into treatments, leaving, going to treatment, you know, bail myself out. And they accepted me with open arms, broken. And they were patient with me. They really genuinely care. You know, the one thing they drive home is to stay in today. What can you do today? You know, service work. They encourage you to do service work. Get out of yourself and volunteer and help the community. There's so much I took from my community that I want to give back today. That keeps me straight and sober today, because it's not about what I need, what I feel I need today. It's about, you know, it's this gift has been given to me, so I want to give it back to somebody else. They encourage service work. They encourage you to journal a lot. Write down your feelings journal. They encourage you to reach out to your community for support groups, to get involved in your community. The biggest thing that they gave me at the Glass House was patience and understanding and unconditional love.
Yeah. Um, so, what do you do every damn day? And I might
I,
know the answer to
I
push this forward.
think you know the answer already. I wake up and I say, thank you for another day I've never seen before. What can I do? And act as if this is my first or last day here. What would I do with it? And I'm challenged. People are coming in my path that my higher power is put in my life for a reason. I had a lady that come up to me and was crying on the street, and I asked her what was going on, and she says, I'm trying to leave my boyfriend, but he's at work right now, and I have to move my stuff out before he comes home. And I called somebody else in recovery, and she gave her a gas card and helped her move out. These things, they're coming into my life where I can be a vessel, a vehicle, a channel to work through to help people, and support them in whatever they're going through. And I do that on a daily basis. I just sit still and wait for that small voice to tell me what to do next. I keep in conscious contact with my higher power every single morning. First thing I do is get my readings, my literature out, and find a meeting, and call my family for support, and just get grounded in prayer. You know, pain shared is pain lessened, and when you pray for others, blessings come down. Yeah.
So we daisy chain these shows together. And yesterday on the show, I had a guy who's just recently moved to Lansing. He's doing this, let's call it a silent disco out in Fenner next weekend. His question for you is, which of our many systems in the world, economic, healthcare, monetary, or not monetary, but judicial, of these many systems, which one do you think needs to be fixed the most?
I'm going to go with judicial system for 200, please. No, that's jeopardy. I'm going to go with the judicial system. They all go hand in hand, but that one, had the biggest impact in my journey, because they addressed my mental illness and my / addiction as a moral issue. We're not bad trying to get good. We're sick trying to get well. And being incarcerated at a very young age really had a big impact in how I looked at myself and how I was stereotyped getting out of there. So I really think that system needs to be changed. That there need to be more rehabilitations and long-term transitions.
Yeah. My daughter did not use until she was given a ticket for minor in possession for cigarettes, and that led down a route that was horrible. So I like the way you're thinking, and I think you just gave us a great antidote to continue with that argument, because that's our argument too.
Is it?
Yeah. Yes. So tomorrow on the show, I've got a lady named Daphne that she's trying to start like a community center that helps people. What question would you like to ask Daphne?
I would like to ask Daphne about what are some of the resources that you have geared up for addiction and recovery.
Yeah, and I like that. And it's kind of problematic to ask you that same question because we've been talking about it. But let's talk about something similar to that, though. Let's say she says nothing. What could we suggest to her?
We could suggest getting involved with the community decisions on grants, the community activities and events that gear for survival for the community to enrich their lives more as far as resources. Community mental health would be a great avenue, to reach people, because that kind of goes hand in hand too with addiction.
All right. I think those are great suggestions, but I bet you she's going to have some ideas too.
Yeah.
Happiness, sadness, joy, or hope? Which word would you like to talk about?
Hope.
You said it right at the beginning of the show, and it kind of led us there,
Yeah.
Did you ever feel zero hope?
Yes. I was this close to admitting myself into an adult foster care home because I didn't feel like I could function anymore in society and make reasonable, realistic decisions anymore. I I wanted to take my life. It was too painful to address all the issues. I thought I would never come out on the other side, and I was hopeless. I figured I've tried everything. What's going to make it different this time? But there has been a difference. and it's happened on the inside, not the outside. I, it was just a simple prayer. I need help, and doors started opening. People started coming in my path, mentors, um, you guys, just opportunities to share my story, keeps me clean and sober today. It gives me hope. Um,
Yeah.
I can't find any other way to spread hope is to give my story.
I've always, can we really get to a point where we have zero hope? Because what made you do that prayer, or what made you even lift your head? And I'm not challenging you.
No, I want to
Those are
tell
the
you.
thoughts
I want
that
to
I have.
tell you where my last relapse went. I was in Grand Rapids in a parking structure doing God knows what at 59 years old, a grandmother, for a hit of crack. I came in here with a box of clothes to my name. I got sick and tired. The hope was gone. I was going nowhere really fast down a cycle that I could not stop. I could not see that it was an addiction. Um, Things that happen to you can make you feel like there's no hope. You get a perspective of the world that is diluted. The world isn't bad. The world is good. There's a lot of good in life, but you have to choose to look at that glass half full instead of half empty. But yeah, there's a place of hopelessness that it's a miracle. It takes a total miracle for that to place in your heart again.
Then, so going from that to now, that one of the most important traits that an entrepreneur, and I'm going to call you an entrepreneur if you don't mind,
I don't mind.
because you're solving a big problem and you've got a solution. One of the most common characteristics is hope. Hope gets people ready to start their businesses. It makes them believe in themselves. Did you ever think that you'd close that gap?
No, I didn't, because I thought it was based on expectations. If I get an apartment, I'll change. I'll feel better. I'll outside of myself. If I get all my kids back in my life, then I'll have hope. If I achieve this, longevity, sobriety, I'll have hope. I always based it on a condition of an expectation. And every time those expectations didn't come when I thought they should come, I would throw in the towel. But it comes from inside wanting to do it for myself today.
We talked for a long time about that on the show yesterday, that
Mm.
if we all just worked on ourselves, we'd all be a lot better off.
Yeah.
um You've been great guest. You motivated me. You've made me feel better. I go into this weekend with more hope, even though I will spend a lot of time on Sunday being sad, and enjoying that sadness, as we talked about on the show yesterday too. And thanks for making this weekend a little bit easier for me, and a little bit harder maybe, but definitely more rich.
You're welcome. Thank you for having me on your show.
I appreciate you so much. So that's we're starting to wrap up here. Tomorrow on the show we'll have Daphne. Tune in at around 2 p.m. and it's like that every damn day. And on Sunday, much like Mother's Day, I had my mother. On Sunday, I'll be up on Drummond Island with my father, and broadcasting our Father's Day episode. So if you want to learn about what kind of father raises a sociopath like me, then watch on Sunday.
Wow, sounds good.
What would you like to take us out with, Michelle?
I would like to take you out with, no matter how hard life gets, no matter what you're facing, don't pick up no matter what.
Thank you so very much.
You're welcome.